I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast for JoyClicks. I'm your captain this week, Christian Buckley, joined, as always, by my Chewie, my Buryaga, Mike Connors. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. We have some Jedi Knights. We have some future Jedi Knights content that we're really cooking up in the kitchen. So I'm kind of hyped about it. Christian and I just spent some time pre-podcast recording talking about it, and I think we're going to be revealing a few things today,
Yeah.
as was discussed.
Absolutely, yeah. So first up, great day outside today, right? Nice, cool fall-feeling day. I'm finally wearing my Ahsoka Tano sweater that I got this summer.
Nice.
I've worn it during the summer. Trying to get a good view of it. I've worn it during the summer when it's like a cool rainy day, but this room I record in gets hot as hell, even on a nice day. So I figured I would do it for the look today. You know, it works out nice.
Well, I can't see you right now, Christian, but I'm sure you look fabulous.
Thank you.
So.
I think I do. I really love this piece of clothing. It's very comfortable. But yeah, Mike, it's a Star Warsy day. I prepped up. I'm wearing even some Grogu Halloween socks that I found at TJ Maxx.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm in a Star Wars mood. We talk about this a lot. To me, fall is the season of Star Wars, right? Like,
True.
to me, they're Thanksgiving movies. They're Thanksgiving and Christmas movies. And I think you feel in a similar way, right?
I really do. I think I've said this before on the podcast, but it's worth saying again. I think TBS, like for the longest time, they might still do this, like during New Year's. I think they just do a marathon of all the movies, and it's like multiple days. I think they just like repeat it once or twice, which is really fun. And yeah, have a lot of memories of just like watching that. It's fun to just like see like, oh, like The Empire Strikes Back is on cable TV. Like,
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, since it's fall season, since we've been doing this show, it's not going to be 3 years, right? It's going to be 2.
It's going to be 2.
Yeah, because we started, our first episode came out October 2019, right?
Yes. Leading up to the Rise of Skywalker, I believe.
Yeah, so this will be our 3rd October of doing shows, technically. So,
True.
Basically, Mike brought up the idea of doing a rewatch of at least the saga films, so we can officially announce that on September 21st, that is going to be the recording date and release date for Jedi Knights, the rerun of going through the Skywalker saga, giving our opinions, giving our rankings, and this time the entire conversation will be captained, piloted by the Han Solo on this panel right now, Mike Connors.
Exactly. I didn't want to jump the gun a little bit too much, Christian, but I was just really excited by the conversation that we were having pre-pod, so I wanted to bring it up. And I think it is worth mentioning. I'm excited to talk about these movies again. It's been 2 years, as Christian said, and I'm sure that both you and I, Christian, have evolved as Star Wars fans. There's been a lot of new things that have come out, a lot of things to talk about, I think. And I'm really excited because, as you mentioned, the last time that we talked about these movies, you were kind of the one who steered the ship in the discussion. And so me taking it over this time, I think we'll just have more things to talk about. I think it'll be not a better discussion, but just a different one, which will be interesting.
Yeah. It would be better than if I was steering it again, because I notice, like...
That's what I mean, yeah.
The things I notice in movies, like, don't change. Like, I notice dumb things, and I get hung up on, like, very weird things that kind of probably don't matter, and then I, think it means something greater about the movie, right? And, like, that's where I bring a lot of the conversation from. So I'm excited to see you, who, when we started this podcast... I was always impressed by the little tidbits of lore you had, and I'm excited to see that person, that Star Wars fan, pick plot points from the movies, pick things to talk about and things to focus on. So it's going to be fun. The current schedule, I'm going to make a graphic. It's going to be on the Jedi Knights Twitter for reference for the fall. But as it stands right now, subject to change, but September 21st will be Phantom Menace. September 28th will be Attack of the Clones. October 5th will be Revenge of the Sith. October 12th will be A New Hope. October 19th, Empire Strikes Back. October 26th, Return of the Jedi. November 2nd, The Force Awakens. November 9th, The Last Jedi. And November 16th will be The Rise of Skywalker.
Well, the best of the 9.
We decided to remove Solo and Rogue One from the equation just because we don't know when Book of Boba Fett is starting. There's Disney Plus Day sometime in November, and I have a sneaking suspicion that they're just going to drop the first episode of Boba Fett then. So, like, this gives us some wiggle room. If we still got time, we'll probably talk Solo and Rogue One again because we both have really strong feelings about those movies, so it'd be fun to watch those as well. But that is what the fall looks like for us right now.
Definitely. One added thing I wanted to say. In a way, I do think it will be better because both you and I, Christian, we've spent the last 2 years talking about Star Wars. We've gotten better, I think, throughout doing 96 episodes of Jedi Knights at analyzing Star Wars and picking things out. So on both of our parts, I think we're going to be better than we were before, and so it should be a lot of fun, and I hope people can watch and watch along with us, seriously.
Oh yeah, because I've also spent almost a full year on TikTok, and a good 6 months of them were Star Wars related, so I had a bunch of new opinions thrown at me. I had a bunch of new conversations in mind, so like very curious to watch these again.
Your hosts have grown. We have new life experiences, just like all of you. So it'll be a different spin on it, I think.
Yeah. So look forward to that. That will be kicking off in just a couple weeks. And in the meantime, we got loads of Star Wars conversations still to come. Of course, we're going to be talking about Visions every week as well, but that will probably take place before the episode review.
Yep.
Because Visions, I don't want to say it's just going to be a lot of style over substance, but I feel like it's kind of like Marvel's What If, where Jack and I, every week on Excelsior, probably spend at most 20 minutes talking about the weekly What If episode. I imagine it's going to be similar for us with Visions, maybe less, maybe about the same, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll have room to talk about both of them for sure. Like, I'm not really worried about that. I am excited to talk a little bit about like what Visions is going to be in terms of like what sort of stories they're going to tell. But yeah, it's seeming like it's not going to be something that's going to take up a lot of time here on Jedi Knights. But I'm excited nonetheless.
For sure. Well, Mike, why don't we get into the run of this week's show, and kicking off, we're going to go to the Jedi archives and pull from the sacred text of Wikipedia to educate each other and the audience on a Star Wars Legends canon lore nugget of information. So what did you pull this week?
So I chose something from the Legends material. And listeners of the show, Christian, Dexter Jetser, one of my favorite Star Wars characters. And I always try to find, sometimes I try to find a little something from the Dexter Jetster canon to bring to from the Jedi archives. And what I've brought today is Dex's Donuts. Have we ever talked about this on the podcast? Are you familiar with Dex's Donuts?
I don't think they have, but can I buy them?
I wish you could, man. I really wish you could. In fact, this is something in the canon. It was a donut stand located on Coruscant that sold donuts and calf, which I think is like the galaxy's coffee. It was operated by Dexter Jetster, our favorite Star Wars character, or at least mine. And he was able to use settlement money from when his donut stand was destroyed by a taxi driver to open a proper diner, Dex's Diner. So he basically, like, I don't know, he was like on the street, like selling donuts. One day, taxi car, whoop, all the donuts on the ground, falling through Coruscant, and he uses the money from a settlement to open up the infamous Dex's Diner. So I thought that was a really fun story. This is like Legends material, but I want to see him bring it into the canon.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Do you think that incident is how he met Obi-Wan?
Oh, maybe. Do you think Obi-Wan was like maybe in the area or something? I don't know. They called him the Jedi to sort of like figure out this car accident essentially.
Yeah, was he the Jedi that showed up and was like, "All right, I need your insurance papers. I need your plate numbers." Like, is that who showed up?
I guess so. And yeah, during the time he noticed that Dex had a lot of knowledge about Camino for some reason. But I would like to say that it also says that on the staff for Dex's Donuts, there is two staff. First employee, Dexter Jetster, obviously, right? That's a given. The second employee, a Crisp EO donut droid. And I thought that was just a fun little name for a donut droid.
That's very fun.
So that's Dex's Donuts for y'all. Hope you liked it.
Wonderful pick. I wish I could be there right now. I wish I could wake up tomorrow morning, get some coffee and a donut at Dex's Diner. That'd be fantastic.
It would be great. Yeah.
Well, my choice for this week is Steve Palpatine.
Steve Palpatine. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like a Luke situation?
So this is from the Lego Star Wars, the official Stormtrooper training manual. So it's official, Mike.
Oh.
Palpatine's full name is actually Sheev Palpatine, not to be confused with Steve Palpatine, intergalactic plumber extraordinaire. That is from the Stormtrooper guide. Steve Palpatine was an individual who was considered an extraordinaire at plumbing. Between 4 ABY and 5 ABY, an entry for Galactic Emperor Sheev Palpatine in the official Stormtrooper training manual clarified that the two Palpatines were distinct individuals. So
interesting. But is this Rey's dad then?
I don't know. I don't know how the timeline works there, but
hey, man. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Seems a little uncanny. Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Palpatine looks a lot like Rey.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it is non-canon, even though it came out in 2016. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I saw Steve Palpatine on the front page of Wikipedia. I was like, I gotta talk about this. I cannot ignore this gift.
No, how could you? Honestly, I was thinking to myself, the Wikipedia article says that he's an intergalactic plumber extraordinaire. Is that right?
Yes.
How do you become an intergalactic plumber? That's like crazy. Wouldn't you think that you would just like post up on one planet, right, and then just be that planet's plumber? No, I guess Steve Palpatine's really chasing that bag across the galaxy.
Yeah, respect. Also, interesting that it's in a Stormtrooper guide. Like, is this like in Finn's wheelhouse? Is this something he read? Did Finn get that Stormtrooper guide? And it's like, don't confuse she with Steve. That's your first mistake.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that guide didn't also have an explanation on what the Force is.
No, yeah, unfortunately. But, well, great picks this week. That was very fun. And speaking of Lego, why don't we get into our first news story? Today, we got our first look, the official trailer for Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales, the Halloween special coming to Disney Plus early in October. Mike, let me know, what did you think of our first look at this special?
I thought it was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's always something that I look for when it comes to like Lego properties like this. Just thinking about like the old video games, those had like a certain type of humor. It sort of reminds me of like the Lego Star Wars Christmas special that they did around Life Day last year.
Yeah.
And I had a really fun time. With that. Like it was like kind of goofy. It didn't take itself very seriously. Like I just like the whole like Lego style. I think it's like sort of a fun way to look at like some of our most favorite the properties that mean the most to us.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of that, just because it doesn't take itself very seriously. So It looks interesting. Honestly, it sort of looks like this Terrifying Tales trailer sort of made it seem as though like they'll be telling stories about like the Star Wars universe in like a Marvel's What If kind of way, right? Like, was I not the only one who got that vibe, Christian? Like,
Kinda, yeah.
there
Like
was some,
it
yeah,
it seems like they're throwing out some ideas that very much like the holiday special. It's like this isn't canon, but the
yeah,
Lego license allows us to have some fun with some stuff. So wouldn't it be funny if in a Halloween setting we told this story? And I think it's interesting because the way they're framing it also is like these are stories that are being narrated and told from like the old
right.
world, right? Like it's not like we're actually watching an event that Luke Skywalker did from Luke Skywalker's perspective between 5 and 6, right? It's like somebody presumably post 9 talking about a story that is probably fiction, and then we were seeing it play out in the Lego art style. So it's a great concept, and like you said, it's very fun, and it can tackle that sort of what if scenario. Was there one that stood out to you most in the trailer?
I guess the one that stood out the most, the one that seemed the most what if is like I think it was Luke seemed as though he actually went to the Imperial Academy to like learn how to fly, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed it's didn't. Maybe I was completely misreading it, but it seemed like that's what it was, right? It seemed like a what if sort of thing. But I don't know. It's got to be connected to Halloween somehow. Maybe it's just in the stories that they're telling. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like we talked about this when this was announced, but like growing up, we always had holiday specials, and like Halloween usually got an episode for most cartoons and stuff like that. So
Like Treehouse of Horror. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So doing sort of like an anthology focus on a character in a scenario they normally wouldn't be in, and it's probably made up. Like it's fun, and
Yeah.
it's a good way to be celebratory of the season. You know.
Absolutely. Can we talk about the very beginning of this trailer? I think we had mentioned it previously on a Jedi Knights episode because I think they gave us like a text description of like what this would be and like the setup.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're turning Vader's castle into like a hotel is so funny.
Yeah.
I cracked up, man.
Yeah, that's a great
And
concept.
Poe Dameron, yeah, Poe Dameron like seemingly crash landing on Mustafar to find like this hotel is a really great setup. I think that's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch this. We will absolutely be talking about it when it comes out. We need our Lego Star Wars fix. We got it last year with the holiday special.
That's true.
We're getting it this year with the Halloween special. We'll get it next year with the Skywalker Saga.
Yeah, eventually with the Skywalker Saga. Hopefully next year. It's looking like it. But this looks really fun, and I think it said that October 1st is when this is coming out. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you got all October. Hit the ground running with some cool, fun Star Wars Treehouse of Horror-esque storytelling. So
Definitely good stuff.
Another thing coming to Disney Plus, September 29th, according to the Spain Disney Plus Twitter account, is a new short series titled Star Wars Galaxy of Sounds. It's going to be 7 episodes. We don't have much else to go on, but this is most likely going to be in line with what we've seen from like Star Wars Biomes and Star Wars like Fly Through, I think, is where it's like the
Vehicle fly through, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's like the render of the Millennium Falcon or I think the other one was a Star Destroyer, and you just get to see the interior of it, right? Like
Yeah.
It's falling into that line of what are we doing here? I was exploring Disney Plus about a week ago because I never do that. I never browse Disney Plus, right? Just to see what's on there.
Yeah, because you always kind of know it's already on.
Yeah, if I'm turning Disney Plus on, I'm there for a reason, and it's a new Marvel show or an episode of Bad Batch or a new thing that's releasing that week, right?
Yeah, definitely.
They have these things called they have like soundscapes on Disney Plus, kind of, or like there's one called Disney Zen or something like that, and each episode is like one's titled Rain, and then there will be just tons of clips in like a 7-minute video from scenes and shots and stuff like that from a lot of the Disney movies they have that involve rain. So it's just like soundscapes, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's sort of like a meditative thing. They do these things pretty often on Disney Plus, but now we're getting a Star Wars one about sounds.
So, like the Disney Zen ones that you're talking about, does it also have like a visual component? And like, what is that visual component?
Yeah, so to clarify, it does have the scenes. Like, so I watched the rain one, and it had like Lion King. When there's rain in the film, it showed the visual of the rain there. There was no dialogue, there's no music, it was just the sounds. And I think from like a filmmaking side, it's very interesting because it puts a focus on like Foley art and everything you do to make the sounds of a film be realistic and add to that viewing experience. And putting a focus on that is very cool. And when it comes to Star Wars, I think that's going to be pretty cool to check out, right? They always have iconic sounds. There's so many things. Like you and I have talked about the origins of the lightsaber sound and stuff like that.
So I guess when I heard about this at first, what I thought it was going to be was like a documentary style, maybe like look at like how they go into creating some of the sounds in Star Wars, because it is very heavily anchored on like Foley and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this does sound pretty cool. I guess I'm just curious, like, how do you think this will work in terms of like Star Wars? Because when I think about Star Wars biomes, that's like they fly over like Hoth, and I think they fly over like Mustafar, and it sort of like gives off like the natural sounds of like each of those planets. And then the vehicle fly-throughs also have like, the sounds that like the instruments on board, like the Millennium Falcon make. So in terms of this, is it just going to be like basically like Disney Zen, but like with Star Wars? Is that like, I don't really know. I'm having a hard time sort of like conceptualizing like what this is actually going to look like.
Mike, if you can, pull up Disney Plus if you have your login ready and look up Zenimation. Zenimation. I will describe it for the audience, and you can get a good look at this. I'm going to pull up the episode of season 1 titled Cityscapes. And basically...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, it's because to me, like, hearing about it, it seems hard to sort of like visualize in my head. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
So basically it plays... like clips from the film they're referencing in this supercut basically, and in the Zenimation stuff it strips out dialogue and music. So it's, I think in a Star Wars version of this, I could see a world where we get like a compilation of the scenes of Luke outside on Dagobah, and there's no dialogue, there's no music, it's just strictly the Foley art of the creatures, the sounds of like rocks, things moving, and like stuff that's there in the film, but you don't get the full attention to detail of because you're focused on the dialogue and the music. It's just highlighting this element of filmmaking.
I see what you're saying. I'm watching it now, and like there's like the first episode's about water, and so like they have a scene of like Elsa from Frozen, like riding like a water horse, and then like a waterfall from the Lion King. You're right. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So seeing this in a Star Wars version of this would be very interesting, I think. And you're right. It sounds sort of in the same vein as like biomes and vehicle fly-throughs. I'm happy I looked this up because I was kind of confused earlier, to be honest.
Yeah, I think like honestly, not a huge thing, but as people who are Star Wars fans and Star Wars growing up, especially with all the special features, was a lot of the reason that I ended up pursuing the type of work that I like, of like editing and behind the scenes stuff for entertainment. So like just more of that, and I think highlighting again what Star Wars does really well with creating original iconic things, like the sound of a lightsaber, the sound of a blaster, a TIE fighter, like highlighting all of these sound design that we don't know the iconic ones of, like maybe hearing what Salacious Crumb sounds like in the background of Jabba's palace instead of having to hear all this other stuff. Like, I think that could be cool, even if it is just 7-minute short episodes, you know?
No, it definitely could be cool. Yeah, I'm that's pretty hype, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. So, look forward to that, September 29th. And I imagine they're going to drop all of them at once. I don't think this is going to be a weekly thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they dropped both of the vehicle fly-throughs at once, so I don't see why they wouldn't for this.
Yeah, so look forward to that. I'll check them out. I'll probably have an interesting time seeing some of the scenes they pick and choose, but
yeah, we'll definitely take a look at it
for sure. There is. Do you want to get to the rumor now, Mike, or do you want to get through the things that are the merch, the things you can buy? What would you rather focus on?
I want to talk about stuff I can buy, Christian.
Okay.
You know what? I love buying stuff. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So, if you own a VR headset, specifically the Oculus Quest, Tales from Galaxy's Edge, the VR experience from ILM, X Lab, whatever that official name is, that makes VR titles for Star Wars. Galaxy's Edge Last Call is releasing September 15th. It is a new expansion for Galaxy's Edge. They've detailed it on StarWars.com. There's a bunch of new stuff coming for it. There's 2 new quests, new tales, new items you can purchase in the shop, in the bar. Gameplay experiences for the new expansion include exploring ancient ruins, lightsaber training, and playing as IG-88, plus a story mission that will allow you to invade a First Order base on Batuu, aiding Hondo Ohnaka. So...
Oh, of course. Everyone's favorite smuggler.
Yes. So, we've talked about Tales from Galaxy's Edge before. I still would like an Oculus at some point for Resident Evil 4 VR, but this is right up there with it for reasons to own an Oculus, I think.
Definitely. I mean, I still haven't been able to play like any of the Oculus stuff, but it seemed like a good price. It seems like fun. And if I had this, I'd probably pick it up just because I would want like an extension of this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it seems cool, you know, like they're continuing to flesh out Batuu in terms of lore and Black Spire Outpost. So, yeah, if I end up acquiring a new headset at some point, I will definitely have things to say about this for sure. But do you have
play it?
Go ahead.
They say play as IG-88. Do you know who you normally play as? Like, is it just like a no-name character, or
I think
or
you're,
what?
I think you're.
And
just
are you?
Sorry.
Oh, I was no. Say what you're gonna say.
I was gonna say I think you're just a no-name character.
Gotcha. So it is cool that you can play as like one of the main dudes with Hondo.
Yeah. So, exciting stuff coming to Star Wars VR. I'll throw this out there as well. There's a PlayStation showcase this week. I have no reason to expect we'll get any Star Wars stuff there, but never say never. You know, it's a 40-minute show. They got a lot to show, but Star Wars exists. Star Wars is a big IP, so maybe they have something there, but...
Hey, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, there have been crazier things have happened. Like, I feel like Star Wars Squadrons was announced, like, in September and came out in, like, October or something. I don't know. So you never know.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye peeled, of course. If there's anything, we'll bring it up next week on our next episode. But wanted to just mention that as well.
Def.
Other merch you can buy if you don't have a $300 VR headset. You can buy some anime merch from the official line of Star Wars Visions apparel. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff, but StarWars.com does feature a blog post with some cool shirts, some socks, a dope hoodie about Boba Fett.
Yes.
That I kind of want to buy, Mike.
I kind of want to buy it too, Christian. I'm reading the Star Wars blog post here, and they did say that Heroes and Villains will reveal its own Star Wars Visions apparel collection later this month.
Ooh, okay.
And an exclusive assortment will come to Target at a later date.
Oh.
So there's some serious stuff that's coming out for sure for Star Wars Visions. But this is a great taste, and you're right, Christian. That hoodie with Boba Fett on the front looks sick.
Yeah.
Looks like it looks Ghost of Tsushima meets Boba Fett. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's exactly it though. The title of
Yeah.
that piece of clothing is called Boba Fett Samurai Pullover Hoodie. But
Perfect name.
it's like a square in the middle of the hoodie. Got a good like burnt red orange sunset gradient in the background with a black and white Boba Fett who has a bamboo looking jetpack on his back. A bit of a redesign to his general armor setup, but it looks like the cloth and the armor look in line with what we see him as. But his helmet is the Boba Fett helmet, like face mask, the visor, and the top is like a Ronin straw hat for a samurai.
It looks sick.
It looks so cool.
I'm wondering what the Japanese. Yes, I'm also wondering what the Japanese underneath him says, because there's a few Japanese characters like below, but this like really awesome photo of or drawing of Boba Fett. Above Boba Fett says Star Wars and an interesting font, but below all of this is like some Japanese lettering. Interested to know what that says. I'm gonna guess. I know zero Japanese, but I'm gonna say it says Boba Fett.
You know, I think that might be possible. You know, I think that's the chance.
I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, very
a lot
cool.
of this stuff looks really cool.
Do you think there's anything that catches your eye outside of this Boba Fett sweater?
Outside of the Boba Fett sweater, there's some other cool stuff. I really like the white shirt. It's a white t-shirt, and it has, I think it's called the Twins t-shirt, and it looks as though that it's from the anime episode that they've been talking about with like the twins, basically. So that looks really cool. I just like the art style on that.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, the sock. I always love funky socks. So that looks cool too.
I'm wearing Halloween Grogu socks right now. You know, I'm down.
Perfect.
You know,
perfect.
Mike, it's a just to give you a good image. It is a black sock with some orange stripes on it because you know Halloween, and it has Grogu in the cradle, and it says, "This is the way to candy." So,
no,
very very fun Star Wars stuff, you know.
We love novelty Star Wars stuff.
Oh, absolutely, always. Why don't we get into some rumors, though? Rumors in the Force.
Yes.
There's two notable ones this week. There's one that is potentially maybe spoilers. So it's very, very vague and light, though. It's like I think we've been spoiled more about like the Kenobi series than what this is leading on about the Boba Fett series. So
sure. I mean, why don't we just say that if anybody's sensitive to spoilers about the Book of Boba Fett or just spoilers in general, maybe mute this for the next like 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You had your chance. Via Star Wars Newsnet, they are reporting through their sources. They know what Boba Fett's motivations are, and he will be gaining some new armor in the Book of Boba Fett series. So their official statement is that Star Wars Newsnet has learned that in the series, Boba Fett is in revenge mode. He'll be going after everyone who did him wrong in the past, and he will also be looking for the other bounty hunters. Even more, he'll be doing it with a new look to his armor.
Perfect. I literally didn't know about this. So that was like a visceral reaction of me just being like, "Oh, that's freaking sick!
Yeah,
that's a great idea."
Yeah.
So the first thing that comes to my mind, Christian, if I may, was that it?
That was it. That was all they had. They also had a bit more like explanation of trying to connect it to other stories in the past. Like Tamara Morrison was saying that like, oh, there's some flashbacks, so maybe we're going to be getting a couple different eras kicking off a show. Like maybe young Boba Fett gets screwed over by someone and then old Boba Fett has to kill him in the episode. Like maybe stuff like that, but that's all there is right now.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So what I was thinking, and what we had talked about on this podcast before, Christian, was the possibility that the Book of Boba Fett was going to be like an anthology, basically,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like showing previous Boba Fett adventures
All right.
in sort of like like chapter format, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems as though, if this is to be believed, this is like a rumor in the Force, so take it with a grain of salt. But Star Wars Newsnet, if this is to be believed, that's kind of cool, and it sort of pushes away the idea that we had that this is going to be more set in the past, like prior to him meeting up with Mando.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing it as though that this is going to be it seems like it's going to be post season 2 of The Mandalorian. Um, so I guess what I'm saying is it sort of like takes away what we were thinking about what this show might be, but it
Mm-hmm.
still sounds really cool
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people who have done Boba Fett dirty in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And
When
so
specifically, Mike?
and yes, and it's very interesting too that like he's going to go try to meet all of the bounty hunters. So are we going to be seeing like Bosk and like IG-88 like pop up?
Yeah, man. I
So
hope we get to see Bosk. I don't know where they stand in their relationship together, but yeah, I think having some other bounty hunters show up would be fun. Fun little cameos. Maybe like he goes to them for a lead and he sees them. I have brought it up too many times. I'll bring it up again. If he's getting revenge on people who did him wrong, Mace Windu, bring Samuel L. Jackson back.
yeah.
He wants to come back. Let him come back and have Boba Fett finish the job.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. They'd have to do. There's a lot of explaining.
Yep.
Or actually, or none at all, because sometimes they just don't do that. But
I mean, do what you did with Fennec, right? Like we saw her die, and then she showed up, and then within a minute was like, oh, she doesn't have a stomach. It's a robot now.
Or do what they did with Palpatine, just have him show up again and not explain it.
Yeah.
Never mind. But yeah, no, that would be really cool. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who have probably done Boba Fett wrong outside of Mace Windu.
Yeah.
That we just don't know about. So it'll be pretty easy for them to like write that in. But I hope that they do try to do something with Mace Windu. That would be like the biggest surprise of all time. But these Star Wars shows, they can hold their secrets pretty well, as we've seen with Mandalorian season 2. So high wishes, I think. I think it's more unlikely than not that Mace Windu will show up, but I think it would be really cool if he did.
Yeah, like maybe that's a flashback, because if there are flashbacks, we could still see what if the big finale is like Mace Windu has a child. I'm thinking Kill Bill right now. What if Mace Windu has a child and then Boba Fett is like, when you are older, you come find me and then we'll fight. You'll get your revenge when you find me, or something like that. I just want to see Samuel L. Jackson back in some way, and I think doing it through Boba Fett would be very fun.
Yes, definitely. And let's just say that if it doesn't happen in season 1, I don't know if there's going to be a season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. Book 2 rather, I don't know, but they can always pick up that story sometime else. So even if it doesn't happen this time, it's something that I'd be interested in seeing for sure.
Yeah.
And one thing. Oh, sorry.
No, you first. I had something to circle back to.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, since Tamara Morrison did say that there's going to be flashbacks and everything, and if this rumor is to be believed, then the Book of Boba Fett will be taking place post Mandalorian season 2. Are we gonna get the story of how he escaped Sarlacc? I kind of feel like that's a given, right? Like I feel like it should be, but I don't know if we will. It might just like add to the mythology of the character. Like we don't really know how he got out, but he did. But I would like to know.
I could see that be like a throwaway line, like when he's talking to Fennec, because I do believe that like when they do discuss flashbacks, he will be talking to Fennec about it and just like sort of building that relationship and bond.
Yeah.
So I could see
as a means of exposition. Kind of.
yeah. Because this book of Boba Fett, right? Like, does he have a little moleskin, womp rat skin notebook that he pulls out that's got like names on it that he's crossing off for his revenge? Is he making little notes about his history? Like, there will be a book, I think. You know, I don't think it's just the name. I think there will actually be a book that is relevant, either documenting his history or a kill list, a death note, if you will.
Oh yeah, like the book of Boba Fett is really just like his like his hit list.
Yeah, why not?
I
But,
really like what you said though. Womp rat, Womp rat notebook, Womp skin or whatever.
yeah,
That really made me laugh.
I'm glad.
That's good.
And
That's
then,
good.
you know, for Book of Boba Fett Mando Mondays, you can sell that thing, you know? It just prints money, Mike.
This is true. Yeah.
I was going to say, though, I'm glad you brought this up in terms of it taking place present day, because in the past, you and I have said not so kind things about Boba Fett.
We have not. Or we have.
Yes.
We have said bad things. Yeah.
But I think, like, I love Boba Fett now because Tamara Morrison was able to make that character a character. So I think it would be much harder for me as a new Boba Fett fan to have to watch old Boba Fett, not Tamara Morrison, probably him doing the voice, but not in the suit, mask on all the time. You know, I feel like that'd be a bit harder for me to also really get invested in that way. But picking up with him in his new crusade later in his life is like, hell yeah, that's awesome. It's more the Boba Fett that I really liked and fell in love with as a character. So I'm glad. I'm glad that that's an option here, because I would have been fine with the other thing, but I think Old Man Boba Fett is much more appealing.
I think so too. I think that is definitely true. I think that he has like now this version of the character that we're going to see in the Book of Boba Fett. If it does take place post Mandalorian season 2, he's like a much more lived in character with a lot of more lived in experiences, right? And that just like adds to a more interesting character. I think we saw Boba Fett like while he was like at the height of his bounty hunter business, probably wouldn't be that interesting. It would just be the beginning of the Mandalorian season 1, sort of, right?
Yeah.
Like, as much as that would be cool, and I'm sure this will have elements of that, definitely, and I'd be kind of upset if it didn't. Like, we've already seen, just from the small amount of time that Tamora Morrison has portrayed Boba Fett on screen in season 2 of The Mandalorian, that he's obviously approaching the character with, like, it does seem as though, like, Boba Fett has some emotional baggage for, like, what has happened and, like, what his life has been.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he does show empathy towards, like, the child and, like, Din Djarin, right? So it's, like, interesting because Boba Fett in the original trilogy is kind of put out to be like this jerk, right? Like, who's just like hard and like doesn't have any emotion. And so it might be interesting to see like how Tamora Morrison like takes this character, since we've already seen like hints of a deeper characterization of Boba Fett. So
yeah. And if I'm being completely honest, if they do want to flesh out the Boba Fett in his prime stuff, I genuinely believe the best way to do that type of storytelling would be through a video game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it could also work for a TV show, but like, it's just not. It just doesn't seem like that's the path that they're going on, like, at all. Like they really are doubling down on like old man Boba Fett, like you said, Christian. And if they were to explore that, yeah, I think it would have to be like through a book, not a book, a video game, or like even like maybe something like Bad Batch. Like,
Sure.
maybe he shows up in the Bad Batch, right? Like, I don't know, but for where they are now and for who's playing the character, it just makes more sense to sort of just really lean in to old man Boba.
I agree,
in my opinion.
Any other thoughts on anything? The new armor thing, I think, don't freak out. It's gonna be the iconic Boba Fett armor still. It's probably just gonna be like painted better, you know, like
yeah.
it's nothing.
It'll be like it'll be like Iron Man's costume or Iron Man suit, like Iron Man 1 from Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Like that'll be like the level of changes, you know?
Yeah, because like he fought so hard in his introduction to get his armor back. He's not gonna scrap it for something else, right? Like it's gonna still be Boba Fett. It's just to my dismay, maybe he doesn't have the robes as part of the outfit. You know, that'd be a bummer, but maybe not.
It'll be something like that, though.
Yeah.
Like, it'll still be the iconic, like, green, and he'll still have the helmet, I'm sure. Like, so, it'll be cool.
Yeah. So, look forward to more options to buy toys of Boba Fett in the year 2021. Anything else, Mike, before we move on to this last rumor?
No, I think that's it. This rumor sort of ties in a little bit. I think.
Yeah. So, there was a quote-unquote leak a couple weeks ago that we didn't bring up because it didn't seem real, and I don't think that has changed at all, but I think it's worth talking about because like there hasn't been a comment on it, you know, and like nobody has. Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, they don't have to comment on something, but considering a while ago, I think maybe earlier this year, there was a rumor that Xbox was working on an exclusive Mandalorian game. And I think the rumor also stipulated it's not necessarily Din Djarin TV Mandalorian, but a game about a Mandalorian.
Yep.
We were like, what is that? What is that? What does it involve? Who's making it? Through a unlisted YouTube video that now has 140,000 views. When I saw this initially, I think it only had like 8,000 a couple weeks ago.
Got it.
It is regardless of if this is real or not, it is a prototype of a video game with the Mandalorian characters of Din Djarin, Grogu, in a third-person shooter action sort of game. And it takes place pretty much exclusively in one hallway in this demo that's being recorded off of a TV screen. You can see somebody's head at the bottom of the frame.
Yeah. Someone seems to be playing it. Another person seems to be videotaping it.
Sure.
It basically shows like, you know, it shows like the menu screen of this Mandalorian game. And then like you said, Christian, just like moving around this Mandalorian character and like in what appears to be like an Imperial hallway of some sorts.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So, like, prototype early alphas of games can look rough, right? Like, they can have really bad UI that's just placeholder.
Yep.
Because I think that's the first thing that hits you, right? Like, the UI in this is bad. It looks amateur. Right? Like, it's very flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The UI definitely looks bad, but one thing I would say is that, like, to me, the game looks a bit looks pretty polished, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm with you. Like, the lighting and stuff looks good. It's just some of the character models, like Grogu on that main menu, looks a little rough, I think.
Yeah.
Just in that he doesn't really look like the Grogu we know and love. But yeah, the front page, it says Star Wars The Mandalorian. It's the same font of the show. Continue, load chapter, new game options. We have a chapter select. There's 4 chapters listed. It says Chapter 1, This is the Way. Chapter 2, The Easy Job. Chapter 3, The Coin Toss. Chapter 4, The Escape. And the thing is, I don't know if that's like a nail in the coffin or not. I think those are kind of bad names for chapters, but I feel like I could see those in an actual video game. I don't know if you feel differently.
Yeah, they seem a little silly. Though, like, I could see this getting titles like that.
Yeah.
The only thing is like it could just be like if this game is real, which we don't really know. If it is, it could just be like placeholder names, like just, you know, drafted names.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not exactly sure what they were gonna call it, but they just like put something in there for now. I don't know. It wasn't the best.
Yeah, so that's the weird thing, because like this leaked and nobody really commented on it. Like insiders and people who are in the know in the industry were like, "Hey, this is cool, but it's probably fake." A couple of them said that, but like that's the thing that's making me question it, because some of this stuff looks bad, but that's probably because if it is real, this is just placeholder stuff of like the loading screen and the UI and some of the sound effects. But like you're saying, Mike, when it gets the chapter select and we get the title sequence of The Mandalorian and we see the escape, and then it loads into the actual game, like the reflections, the character model of Din, and the way you like navigate this environment look like they could be an actual AAA alpha of a game that's a couple years out.
That's the biggest red flag for me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I didn't mean to jump the gun earlier, but like when they start to play this game, like most demos that I see, even like, you know, things that I've seen that were in development, like I'm thinking about like the Darth Maul game that they had released footage from,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the character models didn't look this good.
Yeah.
Like the environments didn't look this polished. We were talking a little bit about this before the podcast recording, and it looks kind of like Battlefront 2 in a way. And Battlefront 2, the new one, is known to be like super realistic, and this has like that similar sort of like lighting effect. Like the stormtrooper models sort of look similar to Battlefront 2. Din Djarin himself kind of looks like if like a fan created Din Djarin like in Battlefront 2. And even one of his powers that they sort of showcase in the footage here is like a thermal sort of like vision that Din Djarin has, and that's very similar. It almost seems identical to the thermal scan that I believe it's either Bosk or Lando has in Battlefront 2. So there's some things in here that make me really question whether or not this is real. It looks really cool. But yeah, in terms of just that it doesn't really convince me.
Yeah, because like it's an enigma, Mike. Because I've seen games that leak,
Yeah.
right? Like I've seen games that are early versions of games that were canceled or whatever, and they leak early.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to make of this, because like there's some things like we're saying that could just be early, because a lot of it does look impressive, like the lighting and the reflections, and even some of the animations I think look pretty good.
Yeah.
For being maybe an early in development game, but at the same time, it does share a lot of visual language, I guess, with Star Wars Battlefront.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, so is this just a fan game tech demo some fan made that is using Battlefront 2 assets and a modded character model for Din, which they could be. But I
easily.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, dude. Like
I don't either.
Because
it's also possible, right? It's also possible that this is real, right?
Yeah.
And that maybe it is like made in the same engine or something, that like I don't know. I don't really know how it works. Like I don't think DICE I don't think they're working on this, but like I could see it be possible that like EA may share assets with like other EA companies, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it could be possible that this is real, but in a way it gives me sort of like a fan vibe, but then there's some aspects of it, like with the lighting, like you said, and just the way that it looks, where I'm like, this looks too good to be a fan thing. I don't know.
Yeah, like
it's hard to say. It is an enigma, like he said.
Because I'm glad you bring that up with the EA thing too, because like that's what Squadrons is. Squadrons borrows a lot from Battlefront 2, and we know EA was happy with that, and they want to make more Star Wars games that are just like smaller budget, smaller focus, like all the ones they canceled, because now they did one that was proven to be okay, right? And like, it's tough because there is part of me, and I'm sure with you as well, that we want this to be real. because we want a Mando game, right? Like,
I want this to be real, dude.
yeah. So like maybe that's preventing me from using my common sense here, but yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, if I pause the video, and I just look at an image here, if that was a still image that leaked, I think more people would be believing that this is absolutely real. I think maybe just the fact that there's this much, it's a 4.5-minute video, and again, the UI is really bad. Like, maybe that's why people are judging it that much, and it is janky, so it could just be an early AAA thing, but it, like we're saying, it could be a fan thing, because I do get fan vibes, like you're saying.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Like, my common sense and, like, my gut is telling me that, like, as much as you want it to be real, this doesn't look like it's real. It looks like a fan made it.
Yeah.
But there's enough reasonable doubt that, like, I can also see that this may or may not be, like, just a super early version of a AAA Star Wars game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like I said, it's just like there's just that reasonable doubt that's just like definitely biting at me. But I'd say that if I were to put money on it, it's probably not real.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Because the other thing I'll say about the UI is that UI is like one of the like the nice looking UI that you get in an actual final video game is like pretty low on the priority list for like early development. So that's why even though the stuff looks bad, that's not a deal breaker for me, right? But
yeah, I mean, like that's probably one of the last things that they truly figure out is like where are we going to put the mini map on screen? You know what I mean? Like
yeah, like the recent God of War, right? When it was first revealed in 2016, it had a UI on the E3 stage during the demo, and then God of War came out in 2018, and the UI looked nothing like that. So it can change. I guess shifting this to something that might be a bit more realistic of a conversation. If we were to get a Mandalorian video game, would you want it to be like this, or do you think you'd want it to be more of a original character video game only, or would you be happy exploring a a retelling or a new story with Din Djarin in this universe?
I think what I want, like many things on the Jedi Knights podcast, like what I want is very much different than what I think is like reasonable for Disney to do. Like, and well, I should say what I want is different than like what I think is likely. Being that if we were to get like a Mandalorian game, my personal opinion would be that I would like to maybe explore like a different character, maybe at a different time, like, you know, older Mandalorians, maybe like far before like the Phantom Menace, maybe even during the Clone Wars. I don't know, something. What do I think that that's likely? Probably not. I would say that like if anything, the Mandalorian IP, like Din Djarin himself, the way he looks, everything about him has just gotten so much attention. He's he's kind of like an icon at this point.
Yeah.
That it would make sense for Disney to sort of like double down and capitalize on his image and like create a game centered around him. I think that that's probably the more likely scenario. I would want to see, you know, a character that's different, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think with a Star Wars game, obviously, I think the Mandalorian culture and just the characters work really well as video game characters because they're super customizable. So I think I'd kind of like that. Like, you can have maybe like a Mass Effect approach where like you have Commander Shepard, right? Who is Shepard, but you can design them to look the way you want to look. You can pledge your allegiances different ways. Like, I think I'd want that approach, but with a new original character. And I'm kind of glad that we think this is a fake, because I don't think I'd want to explore Din Djarin specifically in a video game, because so much of Din's character and why it works, I think, is because of Grogu. And if we go back in time with Din Djarin pre-Grogu, like, then you're just, why not make an original character who would be fitting that mold anyway, you know? So that's kind of where my head's at. But this is the type of game I would want it to be, like third-person action, cover-based, gadgets, stuff like that.
Yeah, and there is like this really cool part of this where Din Djarin can like sort of like in this video that we've been talking about, Din Djarin can sort of like look at like I think like what weapons he has through like this like side shoulder like hologram, which is like really cool and unique. I thought that was pretty sick. And yeah, if we were to get something like this, I would want it to be similar to this, like you said, third person. And you know, if we're wrong and this ends up being true, like this is a real like leak from a AAA Star Wars game, I'd still be happy playing something like this. It looks pretty cool, to be honest. But is it what I would want? Like, not really. That's just my take.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it's probably fake. The fact that I haven't seen anybody follow up on this in the past 2 weeks makes me believe that the insiders either know there is a Star Wars game coming and it's not this, so they're not talking about it, or it's just somebody made a fan game to go viral and they did that, you know, because it's possible that that is absolutely possible. It's happened before. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody out there who has been like, hey, I did it. I did this. You know, like I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about that next time this game pops up in discussion, because
yeah, I mean, it's impressive. It looks really impressive, to be honest. And like, if someone said like, hey, I did this, like, I'd be like, cool, that's sick.
Yeah.
But not real, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm leaning not real as well. But in terms of the Star Wars games we've got coming up, you know, there's Hunters at some point. There's presumably Battlefront 3 at some point. A Jedi Fallen Order sequel, the Ubisoft one. Do you think any of those, or maybe that rumored Xbox exclusive Star Wars game, do you think any of those will scratch this itch? Do you think any of them will be going in line with this third-person shooter bounty hunter type game?
I mean, I think that if there were any that I was thinking that like perhaps the Xbox exclusive one that we were talking about could potentially be like a bounty hunter one. But other than that, not really. I was sort of thinking that the next one may be like, I was thinking maybe something like first person, maybe like Republic Commando style, but
Sure.
I don't know. I was thinking, I don't know. I just think that they were really going to want to try to like do some more with like Jedi and stuff. And Mandalorians are like very much like in vogue right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible, but I just don't. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to eat my words at some point, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I loved Star Wars Bounty Hunter as a kid, and that game aged like milk. So I would love anyone that has all the bells and whistles of 2021, 2022, 23 games, and really just lets us go off with exploring more Mandalorian culture, whenever the time period is. You know, I think that'd be very exciting, and everyone would like to play a bounty hunter game. You know, every Star Wars fan would like to try that.
I would like it. Yeah, It'd be cool.
Well, I think that's basically it for this week of Star Wars, Mike. Is there any other final thoughts you have on this Mandalorian thing or the future of Star Wars games that you want to shout
out? Just really excited for Jedi Fallen Order 2. Can't wait to hear something about that. And make a remake of Knights of the Old Republic, you cowards.
Yeah, maybe that'll show up on PlayStation stage. You know, maybe.
That'd be cool. Yeah. It was an Xbox exclusive, though, I think, to begin with. So
sure, yeah. Well, I mean, that remake is coming, right? They're working on it at Aspire, so
true. That's true.
It's gonna pop up sometime, but
hopefully.
Mike, where can everybody find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Shuntd2. The show, Jedi Knights, available on youtube.com/joyclicks in the Jedi Knights playlist, or podcast services, look up Jedi Knights, you'll find us. The Twitter at Jedi Knights JC will have a updated schedule for our updated round 2 of reviewing the Skywalker saga in the near future, so look forward to that if you want to reference that.
Can't wait.
And yeah, like I said, Apple Podcast, Spotify for the audio version of the show, patreon.com/joyclicks if you want to support us on the monetary level, $1 and $5 tiers. $5 tier gives you producer credit on every show we do, like Aaron Easton and Charles Applin, so thank you very much. And that's going to do it for this week's Jedi Knights. We will be back next week with some more Star Wars news, hopefully a trailer or teaser poster for the Book of Boba Fett. It is September, it's time to market it. But we'll have to wait and see. So,
and when that happens, because it will inevitably happen, we'll be talking about it right here, yes, for sure.
A week after it comes out, because they will release that information immediately after we stop recording.
Watch, it's gonna happen tomorrow.
Today. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen this week. But
yeah,
we'll see. But until then, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
Oh yes, you're right. Beep is up.